welcome back to, is he ever going to get this house finished? It's calling for lots of rain later, so thought it would be a good time to start digging holes. Probably not. Decided to go ahead and dig a ditch and drop in a conduit, and probably even I got a cable, underground cable wire over there. Drop it down in the ditch over to the pole so you don't have to have any more lines overhead. The biggest thing about that is they would anchor them to the mast up there, and then they'd have to loop out around the guttering, and that just kind of looks a little hinky sometimes. So it won't take long to dig this ditch with my brother-in-law's tractor there and throw some conduit in. So that's what we're doing first, and then we're going to get started spreading that big pile of dirt. We got us a conduit for whatever the future may bring, or the telephone line, but I'd say she'll probably just use cable internet. And then we've got us a cable stuck down in here too they can use. And Philip's making him a way to get back across so we can push the ditch full, and this little project will be out of the way. Well, it came a big rain on us yesterday when we were trying to get this dirt spread, so I didn't get any more video, but basically we got it kind of roughed out enough to where when it dries out, I can probably fine grade it a little bit. Got the grate up against the house here took care of, so I can go ahead and set my condenser. Also put some dirt in this area so I can build the back porch without having to worry about not having good drainage underneath it. But what I'm doing this morning, they came and did the templates for the countertop yesterday. So they say it's like 5 to 7 business days when they'll come back to put it in. So I need to go ahead and make sure I get my overhang supports in here. Personally, I think it would probably be fine, but I guess if somebody stood right on the edge of this, it put a big moment on it. There's not much granite, you know, it's about a third overhang, maybe a little more. So they recommend these things, so I went ahead and ordered some. They're just 1/4 inch steel, bent in a 90 degree, and I've got this one installed. I wasn't sure how I was going to put it in there, but what I wound up doing was took me a 2x6. I had to notch it a little bit because of the drawer guide right here, but it gives me plenty of meat here between this almost 5/8 plywood, this 3/4 inch one by here that I attached my front panel to, and then that 2x6. Of course, I screwed it in back here in the dishwasher space, screwed it into here. I mean, I could probably stand on this right now, and if the wood didn't break, it would hold me up. But I've got to put I'm gonna put one here, probably one here. I'll definitely do one on the end, and I might even try to space it out to put one in the middle. It's a little bit funny when you have a flat bar like this, because you know most dishwashers take this entire space all the way back to the wall. So there's really not room to put a board in here without possibly interfering with the dishwasher fit. Over here on both sides of the sink is good, but right in the middle you want to kind of stay out of it, because that's where your faucet and whatnot's going to be going, behind your sink. And then of course I can do anything I want to over here. So I'm just going to try to figure out what the best layout is. They don't have to be equally spaced, but you know, probably kind of ought to be a little bit close in case you just sit on the floor looking up under it. But what I did, I just had to notch this in order to make this come down flush. Of course, you want to keep it good and level, because the granite's not going to be forgiving. Tried to actually put a little piece of a shim right down here, if you can see that right there, just to help get it exact when I tighten the screws up. So I'll put 4 or 5 more of them on and be ready for the countertop. I got some installs this week and I was just afraid I wouldn't have time to get to it before they came. Well, this is one of those things that you think will just take a few minutes and 3 hours later you're finally finished. Had to get creative. Of course, everywhere else I just put a 2x block on the inside of the cabinet and screwed it to the cabinet well into this 1x up front and got everything good and sturdy. But when I got over here where this Lazy Susan was, I had a gap right here. The cabinet actually ended right here, so there was just a gap between here and the wall. I had put this block in previously to hold our wall that we built. So I just I took 2 2x4s and ripped them down to 3 inches wide and then notched them for the distance back I needed compared to this cabinet piece and this 2x4. So I just screwed all this together and then slid it down into the wall and screwed it down after I made sure it was right. So that worked out okay. And then this one, I had a upright 2x4 going down. I just patted it out a little bit with some plywood to get it the same depth and screwed it down good. So that, I mean, I don't know that it's necessary, but it'll definitely, it couldn't hurt. So I need to jump back in this corner here and go ahead and throw in a couple of ledger boards here to carry. You can see how they had to put this template material in here to hold their template up yesterday when they came. But I'll just extend a board across there and across here to give the granite something good to bear on up against the wall. Here's that footer at the back corner of the house we poured so long ago. It's time, I need to go ahead and get a post holding the house up permanent instead of that temporary thing, so I can take this mess down and start building the back deck here. Of course you could get a 10-foot post and cut it off, but lumber's higher than Snoop Dogg right now, so I think I'm just going to use a 8-foot post. And I've got this piece of concrete form, sonotube, I had laying over at the shop I'd used off of something one time. So I'm gonna make it 20 inches tall, which will give me just a little bit less than an 8-foot post there up to that beam. I'm gonna cut it with my little circular saw and get it positioned down here and douse some steel in and see if we can get some concrete mixed up. Perfect. For that. So that gives you about 1.5 inches concrete cover, which is good. Okay, I wound up just screwing a old scrap piece of 2x4 to that temporary post, run it over to a metal peg here I drove in the ground, and then screwed the form to it right there. Put a couple of dirt clods or rocks or something down there just to hold pressure against that side, and it seems good and sturdy. I'll just go easy with my concrete. Got it a wee bit wet. It may all run out the bottom, but that'll be good. It'll dry up quick when all that water runs out the bottom of the form. This concrete's been laying under a tarp outside all winter, and it's getting kind of lumpy. I had about 4 bags left over. That should take 2 in a little bit for this one maybe. Put a little bit of this real dry down there with that real wet. Mix it up a little. So I needed something to hold my anchor bolt till the concrete sets. So I ran out on the porch where I've got all my vinyl flooring scrap. Stuck a hole in a piece of it. See if the wind will leave me alone for a minute. It's a beautiful day. Coming up on 6 o'clock at night or evening. About 65 degrees. There's a breeze, but it's not going to stay that way long. Eventually it's going to get hot, so I need to get that air conditioning condenser set out here soon. I hope we don't hit any steel. I know I ran some through there. I think that 3-inch goes on top of it. I could probably go back at the video and look, but I'm just going to stay up high as I can and hope for the best. Okay, I'll grab something and knock that core loose and go again. I don't want to bottom out. Might rip my arms off. You know, say what you want to, this Quickrete's hard stuff. I think I'll punch through with a little bit and then go inside and drill backwards to keep from taking out a big spall on the inside. Can't see if I'm in the hole or not. Okay, we should be able to tell where we are on the inside now. Let's go in there. I don't know if I can get my centering bit back to that hole or not. It popped such a big piece off. I don't think I can. Maybe futile. Wish this thing had a removable center bit. Okay, I'm gonna jump outside and finish it off. I think maybe I can keep it straighter that way. Well, that's not good news. I think I must be up against a piece of steel because I sure ain't moving very much. Let's just go see what it is. Huh. See if I can get my head down low enough to look through it. Huh. There's still a piece about as thick as a bar of steel right in the center. Well, it was a piece of rebar. It was right in the very bottom of the hole. So I probably can't sleeve it with PVC like I had hoped. If I can get you back in there, block this sign off, focus. Ain't gonna be light enough, but if I stick you all the way in there, there you go. Can you see her down there in the bottom? Say there's room to get the line set through. There's just not room to put a PVC sleeve there. Okay, so I'm gonna call myself lucky on that hole. I mean, we did hit steel, but at least it wasn't dead center or something. So this one's gonna go through a cap block. About right there. So hopefully it'll be a little softer than that concrete. Oh, need to put her on twisty too. Probably looks a mess on the other side, but it was right up close to a piece of duct, so I don't think you'll ever see it. Concrete's starting to take up a little bit. I took that float and smeared around on it some. I'll try to get by here tomorrow afternoon and pull that cardboard form off, put a little dirt around it, and I'll have some more footers out here if I do what I want to with the deck, but they won't have to be they won't be holding up a house, they'll just be holding up the deck. Well, it's been raining. Next town over, I was putting in a little mini split. It rained on me all afternoon, but I got over here and it hadn't really done anything yet, so I went ahead and stripped that cardboard form off. I want to backfill this hole with a little dirt just to keep it from filling up with water if it does rain, and let that thing set a few days and I can put a house on it. I gotta go pick up some equipment in the morning, so I'll bring it back to my shop and leave it, and then maybe run to Lowe's and go ahead and start getting some wood for this thing. And as quick as I can get all these installs under my belt, I'll jump back out here and try to get us a porch built. It's a beautiful day. I just got back from Lowe's, bought $200 worth of lumber and only cost $650. I'm going to get started on this little deck back here. First thing I got to do though, of course, is get rid of my temporary post and put my real post in. But before I do that, I've got to put the aluminum on. And I put the one piece on, which was, of course, I could do. The other piece I can't do until I move the temporary post, but I really want to run it under the new post. Okay, I didn't feel real good about that one because I couldn't get it good and tight. So what I did, while I had that one, temporary one still there, I went ahead and measured this post, cut it to length, and measured the sleeve, cut it to length, and set it not where it goes, but beside of where it goes, and got it up under the house there on the corner. But as you can see, I've got a little bit of room there where the post is going to be setting, that I can cut this piece of aluminum long and let it come up under there so that it'll still be under the post when I get done. So I've pushed this one forward, so it's going to come out now. And what I'll probably do is put the piece of aluminum in, maybe shorten this about 1.5 inches, maybe just a little less than 1.5 inches, so I can put a block against the aluminum. And then I can pull this post back forward again, try to take a little weight off of this one so I can get it where it goes. Okay, rather than take that old post all the way down to cut 1.5 inches off to put a block, I just took the piece of aluminum that I cut off this wrap, put it upside down so that the finished edges would be against each other, and drove it this way. And I have this post loose now, so I should be able, I've got one screw kind of just holding it there. I should be able to take it down and put it over top of that stud where it goes. Well, that wasn't easy, but it sure looks pretty after wrestling and getting it up there. That sleeve being on it made it slip back and forth, or it slid back and forth, so I actually pinned it at the top and the bottom, kind of in the middle, with two deck screws just to keep it from sliding, so I could grab it by the post and move it. But I think I did a real fine job. And all you HVAC guys out there that's ever done a flare fitting and left the nut off, will appreciate this. It goes down here. Oh God. So that was just a trial run. I'll take it down again and put this on and put it back up. Okay, finally getting ready to put up the first. This is actually a joist, but it's kind of like a ledger too, because it goes along in front of this little short wall. But what I'm using, we've got these little, I guess they're roughly 1/2 inch thick blocks that'll space the ledger boards or the joist off of the house. Gives you an air gap behind it. What I've done, I've stuck the board up there temporarily, drilled holes through it, took it down, screwed these where the holes were located, caulked around them, and then I'm going to use these on this particular thing. There's not really a band board back here. I just built a little wall, so these are going into the studs. This is some leftover stuff I had from my dock years ago, so I'm going to run these in. It'll go into that. There's a bunch of studs right here for the door, a bunch of studs right here for the corner, and then there's one stud right there I'm going to pick up just to have a third one, and it'll just be hanging out there for now, and then I'll eventually figure out exactly where everything's going to be. I'll dig a hole out there for a footing. Okay, in here on the inside of the crawl space, putting the nuts on the back side of the carriage bolts for this ledger. But see that little white cable clamp right there? It's a good thing that the guy that did the electrical was also drilling the hose for the deck, because I thought about it and came under here and looked and removed the wires before I started drilling. Otherwise I would have hit that wire dead center. So I got about 4 more to put on, tighten up, and I'll be heading back out of here. Okay, so everything's bolted in out here. I did my layout starting from, I'm gonna run a joist from the ledger right past this post and out. So that'll give me something to square up. I'll probably trim the ends of these off. I didn't even start to trim them off. Like I say, I'm going to go ahead, since I got all this room out here, I can just run them wild and then cut them off before I put the band on the end. I think I'll try to get that one up tonight, and I don't know, I got a few joist hangers. I might go ahead and hang them all up, maybe just to run me something across here just to hold them up temporarily, and see how many of them I can get down tonight. Well, the sun's about to set, so probably going to go ahead and pick it up. Got a few of the joists on here. I don't have any real short joist hanger nails. I've got the long 10 pennies going diagonal, so it's held good, but I need to get some little short joist hanger nails before I can start putting these deck boards on to start getting everything squared up. But I can do that in the morning. I don't think I've got one call tomorrow right now, and I think I'll be able to come here and work on this deck. I'm doing 24-inch centers because I'm using 1.5 inch thick decking boards. I'm not going to pay more for less wood. I used to build all my decks this way, and they're very sturdy and strong and use less screws, and I'm going to go ahead and do it on this one. Maybe it'll last longer than that 5/4 stuff. I built some steps down to my dock with that 5/4 about, I don't know, 9 years ago, and a lot of it's already rotten. So we'll pick back up tomorrow and see if we can't get some more of this thing framed up. Okay, back at it this afternoon. Picked up the joist hanger nails and got everything nailed off all the way back here against the house. I think what I'm going to do now is go ahead and try to square it up. And the way I'll do that is I'm going to extend this line back to the back of this rim joist, and I can hook on the back corner of that rim joist. These joists are not any particular length right now, so I'll measure the shortest one and put a mark on the other one. And I need to pull a string on one of these guys. I think this one here is kind of curling in a little bit out there on the end, so I may need to pull a string on one or the other and straighten it up before we start. Okay, we've got 96 1/8 inches is how long this joist is from the back of the band. So if we come over here, hook on the back of this band, Okay, I put a mark at 96 1/8 over here as well. So what that means is if I hook on this corner back here and measure out to this mark, I'm at 134 3/16. So I can't hook back there because I've just got to mark the band keeps going. But I can hook on the end of this one because I measured from the end of it. So we'll hook our tape on it. It's going to be hard to stick my hand back in here, I think. Let's see how we can do. If I can get my... I mean, that's I'd say that's 3/16 if I was going to the edge of that black mark there. 134 3/16. So that means we're perfectly square. 134 3/16. Let's just double check. I hate to be off an inch. I remembered the 3/16, but I don't remember the 134 for sure. Yep, 134 3/16. So we're perfectly square right now. I'm gonna have to do something with this area. I've got 2 joists to go here because the deck gets wider out here where this little top of the ramp landing falls. So once I get to that post, my boards will get longer and come on out here. So I need to go ahead and get this framed up. I guess I can go ahead and bring my deck boards out to that post first, and then I can do that. Okay, I got this lice joist before the band put on here, and I determined the length of it by making it the same length as the shortest one over there. That way, you know, you can't be any longer than that. So I laid it out 2 foot on center from that one, and then I needed to square this thing up. It's just hanging out here right now. I had a prop under it, and I didn't use a framing square to square it up. I actually measured off how far it was off the joist back here to the front of it there, and the same thing over there, and pulled that string across the front. But I double check it with my square, and it's right on. What I did, I put this little scrap piece of 2x4 over there, just cross braced it to hold it sturdy, and that way when I chalk a line to get started, I can catch this joist too. So because I have the corner here, this will be a corner when I put a joist on the outside of it here. Because I know where that is now, the inside edge of this will be the edge of my 4x4 post. I can go ahead and dig this hole before I get anything in my way. The back footers, I'll wait until I know exactly where they're going to be, but this one is pretty much set in concrete, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and get it dug while I've got room here before I start putting anything in my way. Okay guys, since I actually had 2 edges to work with, you know, I was talking about running the deck boards out and cutting that end off. If I'd have started at the house, I could have done that, and that end would have worked out good. But this was going to work out kind of funny here at the top of the sloped ramp going down. So what I decided to do after looking at it is I put a full board right behind this 4x4 post, which will be right behind this 4x4 post, and then this board here will actually be overhanging maybe a 1/2 inch, which I can make that work with my ramp runners. I can actually come up and cut a little flat spot by a 1/2 inch, but either way I can make the boards meet up here at the top of the ramp and be smooth and go down the ramp. What that will wind up doing is making a little piece back here at the house. But what I'll do with that, I'll just run these deck boards back until I get to the last 2 boards, the full one and the short one. I can lay the full one down there and get me some marks, then I can measure the short one, the skinny one, and rip it. A little board looks better back at the house than it does out on the very edge. And so I think I'll wind up coming out here. This is as far as I can go because of my length of my board over there on the end, but I think I'll actually end up being about where that little black mark is to the full width boards out through here. I'll actually cut these joists off back a little further than that in order to put the end joist on and have a little bit of an overhang out here. And what I'm going to do with these 12-foot boards now, I'm just going to run them wild. I cut this one with a 1-inch overhang, and then this one I'm just going to run it wild down through here, and when I get done I'll chalk a line and saw all the edges at one time with a circular saw. Same thing on this end. Of course there's going to eventually be a post right here, so I'll probably cut them before I put that post in so I can run the saw past it. I'll have another post back here at this corner. So I'm just going to keep running. Of course it's supported on both ends by this cantilever. It's pretty strong where it's screwed to the house and also screwed to that post there. So what I did, I took the centermost joist and leveled it up and put a prop under the end of it. That way I won't put too much down pressure as I'm screwing these boards on. And these other two joists, they'll probably get lifted up as we put these deck boards on, but we can check all that before we put these footers in and make sure we're good and level. When I'm screwing these boards down, face screwing them like this, is I use my little 7-inch speedy square, and it's long enough to reach out onto the next board. And of course when I put this first board down, I measured all the joists and got them perfectly 24 inches on center out here in the middle. But now I can just go up here and drop this down beside that next screw, and I've got my 2 dots, so I don't have to sit there and look at the square until I'm cross-eyed, but I know to stick a screw in right here and right here. Well, I've ran these out pretty much as far as I can go without working on the ends of these joists and getting ready for that band and digging holes. I went ahead and put a couple more props on it because I tell you, some of these boards were dripping wet. They were heavier than a 1980s Oprah Winfrey. Couldn't hardly pick them up, and then the next one was, you know, dry. So again, I left that overhang there, and then I'll just run all these wild. So I'll chalk a line when I'm done here and rip those off straight. It won't matter in 2 weeks. They'll shrink up different anyway. But I think what I'm going to do now is go over and cut those. I actually bought 12 foot for everything, but those are just a little over 8. And then the pieces that come off I saved for the ramp going down. But go ahead and get those on, and I could probably go ahead and lay my temporary ramp back up and have a way into the house in the basement again. And then I can jump back out here if I have time tonight and start digging some holes and figuring out what to do with the ends of these joists. Okay guys, I got it finished up to the house here. What I did on this one is only going to be like a 2-inch piece, so I used a 2x8 instead of a 2x6 and a piece of a 2x6. And that way you didn't have a little skinny board right up next to the house. And I went ahead and put this temporary ramp back up. The reason I did this is the countertop people are supposed to come tomorrow, and I'd rather them come in and out this way right there when they can be right at the kitchen instead of you know, tramping through the whole house. Plus if it rains, that front yard will be a muddy mess. So yeah, it's a dreary rainy day, but the countertop guys made it. Come in and got this stuff put together and got out of here. I gotta wait 24 hours before I can hook up any plumbing on the sink or anything. Plus it's gonna have that disposal hanging on it. So, but looks more like a kitchen every day. If we could just find some appliances. Everybody's out. Trying to beat the rain here this afternoon, but I about forgot to do any video. Got my holes dug and got my band joist put on and the joist hangers nailed in there. So we've got one more deck board left here, which will finish it off even. And my next step is really to put these 4x4s in and pour concrete, but like I say, the rain is almost on top of us, so probably going to have to just hunt tonight and do something else, get my saw and stuff inside. We've got 2 more holes left to dig, which will be for this ramp over here. I'll just do a post, you know, halfway down and a post at the end. It's not an ADA ramp, it's just a ramp to make it easy to get in and out of the house. So I bought some stair railing, like, you know, the composite PVC coated stuff like those white posts, and the balusters go in like oblong slots or rectangles so that you can kick it sideways, and it was just going to be way too loose to go down that ramp. So I got a flat piece of railing that's made to go just horizontal, and it'll actually give enough to follow the slope of the ramp. So I think I'm going to use that instead of having those loose balusters flopping around in there. Well, yesterday and this morning was a washout, but it's starting to break up now, so I came on over and started to get these deck posts ready. I had to cut the actual hole in the deck board here up next to the joist for the post here, because I'd already put this board on. It goes all the way over there, and what I'm doing, I'm putting the anchors on them before I put them in, so I don't have to do no nailing down low next to the ground like that. So I've got that one in, bolted it through both ways with a half-inch carriage bolt, half-inch carriage bolt. Normally you'd like to have a ledge to set the structure on, you know, like notch your post, but using these 4x4 posts, which is what I need to do in order to use these pretty white rails that they have at Home Depot, if you notch it that much, you're not going to have much structure left. You'd have like a little 2x2 stuck up there, depending on how you notched it. And I mean, the deck's low to the ground. If this thing was on the second floor, you might worry about having just a carriage boat. It's not the carriage boat you worry about, it's the wood and pulling through the wood. I guess ideally, if you could build a deck that would still stand up even if all the fasteners disappeared all at once, you know, that would be ideal, to have it, you know, sitting on a ledge there. They make some anchors if I, you know, got called on it or something and had to do something. They make an anchor that is a metal strap that comes up here, comes out 1.5 inches and comes back up, and you can bolt it through both ways and do the same thing. But like I say, a deck that's this close to the ground, you're going to know there's a problem long before it ever falls. It'll bounce or something, you know, if the wood rots out that bad, which of course with today's wood you never know, but you hope it's a long time before we get to that point. So what I've done, I've marked that post at 40 inches off the top of this deck, which is how long those white sleeves are that I could buy and just slip down over the post. So what I'll do, I've just got that post sitting there and clamped. I've already nailed the anchor on it, and what I plan to do was get all of these. I got these 2 tall posts, then I'll have 2 short posts over there, just, you know, from under the deck down to the ground. I'll get all them ready, and then if I have time, I'll slip over to Lowe's and pick up some Quikrete and go ahead and get all this poured tonight so it can be setting up. Okay, got the concrete mixed up in the ground, so hopefully if I can get by here tomorrow afternoon, I can put this last deck board on top and maybe start trying to figure out where the posts go for the ramp down through here. I've been building a deck and Missy's been tearing one down. She's got a trailer full here. That would be $7,000 worth of wood today. Got a great afternoon. It's almost 80 degrees. I went this morning and started roughing in a house, new construction. I don't normally do new construction, but it's for a friend. He wanted me to do it, so I went ahead and did it. And fortunately, there was nobody else there working but me, because after I finished cutting all the holes and getting everything done that would need to be done before the insulation people come and the inspector, I come by the shop, picked up the trailer, and went and got some 12-foot stuff to build this ramp out of, and got it all put on the trailer, brought it out here, unloaded it, and I almost went in the house and got out the miter saw, the chop saw, and I thought I only got to make a couple of cuts, so I'll just grab my little circular saw off of the van, and I looked all over and it wasn't there, and I said, what else did I have with it over at that house? And I said, oh, I know, I had the Sawzall. It wasn't there either. So drove all the way back across the county figuring it was probably gone, but it was still sitting there right in the doorway where I left it. So good thing I decided to work a little tonight. The electricians are coming in the morning. They're supposed to be able to wire the entire house, rough it in tomorrow, because they got an inspection on Wednesday. But At any rate, came out here and got started on this. Dug holes to put these posts in. And to give you an idea, this post right here used to be 12 foot long. But what I did, I cut it in half and put half of it in this hole and half of it in that hole. So that's in the ground a little over 2 feet, and that's in the ground about 20 inches or more. I just wanted to do that because, you know, there's nothing going to be really holding these posts when you grab a hold of them or pull on them or whatever. So because the deck is so low, the actual deck top of the ramp will be under this board, so it'll be down that low. So you'd have a lot of force up here if you started grabbing this to hold on to or pull on it. So you need something in the ground to counteract that. You could have probably got by with a footing on this one just like that, but you've already got one in the ground. And if you ever went to if you decided you didn't want this anymore and you wanted to put steps right here, a couple of steps, you could get these out a lot easier than you could get that footing out, because by then the post may be rotted and the concrete will kind of break up if you hit it hard or something. So I think that's probably the best choice for that. I'm just going to let it, I had the string line, I put them white sleeves back on there. I had them today figuring out how far to put these posts apart so the railing would work, but I just stuck them back on there to hold them for tonight, so it looked like they were on there and nobody would take them. Man, it's hot. 82 degrees at 4:30 in the afternoon. I was trying to come by here after I finished my regular job and started on this. And I think what I'm going to do, I was going to actually block this vent in since it was going to be behind that ramp. But I pulled that block out to get ready to do something with it, and there's really a really good airflow coming through it right now where it's so hot outside and cool in there. So it's getting good cross ventilation, so I probably should leave it. The deck boards are going to be up here, and there's going to be a gap because I'm going to hold my joist out away from that downspout. So I think it can still get plenty of airflow through here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and lay this cap block in on top of that block down there with some mortar and get it up high enough to where I can get the vent as high as possible. And then I'm going to look at it and see if I need to. I'll run to Lowe's and get one of those little whales that you put here just to keep the dirt from getting up against the vent. But I'll see. It looks like I'm about high enough there. So I'm going to, I got me a little bit of mortar mixed up in the wheelbarrow over here, letting it slake a little bit. So I'll get that thrown in, and then I can carry on and put that last joist in. Okay, we got that in, and I think I can kind of just grade the dirt right up to the bottom of the plastic across through there and not have to fool with any kind of a whale. So I'll get that done and then get this last stringer cut and put in there. Okay, she's about ready. I've got to get another short joist hanger. I think I've got those at the shop to put on this board. And I'm going to go get some of that thin wall PVC pipe and an adapter to actually take this gutter out from right there. I laid a couple of boards on there just to see what was going on. What I'll need to do on this top board is actually bevel the back of it off some so that I can get close. Look how much they've opened up already where they've been out here in the sun. I had them pushed together tight when I put them in. So that's kind of what it'll be. It'll just be coming down that way. Right here, of course, you're going to have a railing right here, so it's going to be kind of hard to step in here, but boards out this far tend to try to curl if they, you know, aren't screwed closer to the end than that. So on this little section, I may actually just strike me a line and screw me a 2x4, treated 2x4 up through here to screw the ends of the boards down. On this, I don't have that option, but what I did do, I bought another 2x4 so I could sandwich it beside this one, so when I screw the boards down into it, there wouldn't be that much of an overhang. I may not put it up against the siding tight. There's always a little bit of flex in something like this, and if you got it up against the siding, it'll squeak when people come up it. Kind of like an early warning system. Okay guys, we've got what promises to be a beautiful Tennessee Saturday here. It's currently in the upper 40s, but it's going to be in the low 70s here soon with that sun shining like that. So I want to get this ramp done this morning. So what I'm going to do is get this gutter drain out from under it. I'm going to bring it back underneath the deck and into the backyard. I think my driveway is going to be quite a bit higher over here, and I don't want to take a chance on it being you know, too low going underneath that ramp. So I'm just going to run it out into the backyard. I got some plastic fittings here. This is that thin wall sewer pipe. I don't know, I think they call it SR 120 or something. And it works good with these NDS fittings to get your gutter drains out. So what I'm going to do is glue this up, take it underneath the deck and strap it up with some plastic strapping there. Oh. I've got a street 90 here to try to keep me up as high as possible, and then this adapter that goes down to the 3x4 downspouts. I'm not going to use primer on this. Like I say, it's not going to be a situation where it's got to be watertight. It's just got to be held together. It's not going to leak anyway. It's always going to be open on that other end. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to take this plastic strapping and strap it up. I had some of those black spacers left over, so I just went ahead and used them there to get me a little bit further out, closer to the house. And I'll put washers and half-inch nuts on the back of those carriage boats. I ran out of deck boards, so I was working on getting these railings put in instead of running the lows. But what I wanted to show you was I bought one of the rails made for stairs to try it on this ramp. And it's made to be at a much steeper pitch, so the pockets are real loose and everything looked real sloppy. So I made a straight rail work by just basically cutting the ends of it at an angle and maybe sanding a little bit on the bottom rail where it goes in its socket. But when you put this post base on, it fits pretty tight, so it's hard to get it to go at this pitch down here. So you can see I've got a board laying here, and there's probably a good 3/4 of an inch right there. Let me get you down here. About 3/4 of an inch right there when it's touching back here. So what you need to do, you need to be able to make this thing go down on the front. And the way I found to do that, just in case somebody else winds up using this same stuff, is you've got some little ribs inside here that strengthens this one side. I take my little oscillating saw, and I'll saw right through here, and I'll saw these little reinforcing tabs out, and I'll just take and mold this down so that it can tilt. And it fit pretty good on that next one. Let me show you what I mean. And then you can take and just kind of mold this down a little. Probably could even warm it up if you needed to, but it seemed to work pretty good on that last one. And then when you push her down, of course I'm going to have to act like I got a deck board right here. But now you can see it touches in the back and the front. So lost that 3/4 inch gap that we had right there. Okay, got the ramp finished up here. Got the last few deck boards. I went ahead and ripped both of these down to have two fairly wide boards versus one little skinny board at the end down here. Like I say, I started up here at the top and just left a full width board at the very top of the ramp. I just didn't want a little piece somewhere. So all this railing is on and good and sturdy because those posts are set in concrete. So what I've started doing now is we're putting the rails up over here on the porch. And we've got the long front one here that's like 8 foot long, almost 8 foot. And of course there was no post here on the porch, so you needed something good and sturdy. So what they make is a post sleeve mount kit. Okay, here's what comes in the box. You got this kind of heavy duty looking galvanized metal piece of square stock that's welded onto a flange, and basically you get it set where you want it, and you anchor it down. If you're going into wood, they want you to run these things all the way through the deck and put these big fender washers and nuts on the bottom. If you're going into concrete, they give you these, this is basically like a blue Tapcon screw, only a little bit bigger. I thought they might break, but so far so good. I just took it easy, started it in, backed it out, started it in. I was trying to do it with a ratchet to start with, but it actually worked better using an impact where you could run it in a turn or two and take it back out and run it in another turn or two. Okay, so I found the location of this by using a string to pull across the other two posts. Had that post sitting in place. It's got this spacer block that, you know, holds the outside post. Of course, this is the very bottom, and rather than put the whole post on there, which would have been impossible to mark, I just used this sliver of stuff that was cut off of a post yesterday. So basically it's one of these kind of deals here where when you set it in there. So I lined my string up down the edge of this, and then I kept pressure. Once I got this thing where it was, I kept pressure on it and picked everything up, gripped it with my fingers and marked it out. So I've got me 4 holes marked out here that I need to drill a 1/4 inch hole. And you got to drill them pretty deep. These things are pretty long, but I'll get those drilled, and then we'll start trying to put these aggressive screws in. Cool. Okay, these little, I guess they're aluminum brackets. It's what holds the top of the rail, which I've got upside down right now. And they're an 1/8 inch thick, so you basically deduct a 1/4 inch from your measurement when you cut these rails. And then you lay this down here on the bottom of the top rail. I've got it upside down right now. You've got a slot right in the middle, so pre-drill you a hole somewhere in it. That's adjustable in case your measurements aren't just right. And you run one of these stainless steel square drive screws down in it. And it says to leave them loose, but I'm trying to measure it pretty tight, so I usually just go ahead and tighten them up, and it goes on in there. We do that on the top, on both ends. And then the bottom gets held by just a plastic bracket that screws into the post, and it just slides on the bottom rail as such. Once you put your screws in, it's got a little cover that covers the screws. The top has this piece that snaps around it. After you get it in place, you've got some long 2.5 inch, 3 inch screws goes into the post up here to make the rail good and sturdy. You spread this apart and snap it around there, and then you have 2 more of these stainless steel screws that'll go through these holes up into the rail to make sure the rail's attached to the bracket good. And then with those long screws, the bracket's attached to the post good. And I guess if you're on the second floor balcony or something, that'd be really, really important that you was able to lean on this thing without it snapping off. Okay, these are the screws they use to attach it at the top, like we was talking about. They're long and they'll go way back into the post. I've already put the one on the outside so I could show you this cover. Like I say, it's springy plastic. It still feels like you could break it if you tried, but get it wrapped around there, snapped in like that, and then you got to drill 2 holes up from the bottom and put some of those stainless steel screws into it. But that does the top, and then of course the bottom just gets mounted with the screws and the little cover snapped on it. Well, there she is. I got my parts cut to do these 2 posts out here for some steps, be about 5 foot wide steps going into this thing. Of course, those are just what used to be around on the side. I'll bust them up and get them out of here, but I've got the pieces cut. I got my 4x4 post out there, and then I've got the parts for the stair rails in here, so I'll just do that when I get around to it. I need to get my appliances ordered this week, and so I'm not going to put a handrail back here right now because it's less than 30 inches to the ground. It's more like 21 inches to the ground. If mom's hesitant about walking up, I mean, she's got this rail over here to hold on to. You come up and you come around the corner here, you've got over 4 feet out to that edge. But if she's worried about that, I'll either go ahead and build that second deck right now, or I'll just put another 6-foot railing across here, stop it about right here, and then that'll be your step down over this way to your second level of your deck later on. So it's clouding up. I think we're gonna get a little rain. I'm gonna see what I've got. I think I probably got enough to get together a video, and hopefully what we can do next time is get somebody started on this driveway. Maybe do those steps out front and get some baseboard down in here and get ready to move in. Thanks for watching.